First of all, hello again. It's been a while. Hope everyone had a good New Year and a good holiday, and that your January has been going all right. Not on My Own is an interesting song for me because it was one of the ones I was most concerned about when figuring out the track list for the album. Part of me thought it was a little overly sentimental, that the visual metaphor was a little overwrought, or that it was just boring. It was very slow paced and lower key than a lot of the other songs. But after working on it with the drummer I had for this album, John Kane, and getting his encouragement, that helped make it on the album, and I'm really happy it ended up on the album. This song came directly out of the mental state I was in towards the end of my time at the last day job I had. A lot of different things had changed in my life very quickly, and as can happen with that, it can leave you emotionally drained. And with my workload at work becoming more difficult, and living on my own, being on my own a lot more often, just physically, it was stressful, to say the least. The first verse of the song sort of came out of, I was back in therapy and I was trying to tackle the different things I was having issues with, but as happens often with me, I feel like every time I felt like I discovered some new truth or came to some new realization right around the corner, something would knock me off my center and I'd be back in a really unhealthy place. It sort of goes back to something I was getting at in my last video with Broke Down Car. I think we like to fool ourselves into thinking that our mental health journeys are just sort of like, oh, well, we started this place and we end up in this place and this is where we figure stuff out and we're just good from there on out. But as I talked about with my therapist, he was good about reminding me it's not just sort of like a one and done thing. There are peaks and valleys to everyone's journey, and just as the peaks aren't always going to solve everything, the valleys don't last forever either. That brings me to another thing that inspired this song. It's a quote by Stephen Fry talking about depression. If you know someone who's depressed, please resolve never to ask them why. Depression isn't a straightforward response to a bad situation. Depression just is, like the weather. Try to understand the blackness, lethargy, hopelessness, and loneliness they're going through. Be there for them when they come through the other side. It's hard to be a friend to someone who's depressed, but it is one of the kindest, noblest, and best things you will ever do. Now, I'm not clinically depressed, and my depression towards the end of being at my job, I had an advantage that a lot of other people don't have, where I had a direct cause to this mental state I was in. I could tell, okay, put two and two together. This is causing this. But for a lot of people, it's not like that. While I don't have clinical depression myself, I do have a lot of friends who struggle with mental health issues. And it's a subject that I care a lot about, partly because it's common for people in the creative industries to struggle with mental health issues. And I think specifically the metaphor that Stephen Fry uses of depression being like the weather is a very useful one, because it speaks to the reality of a lot of mental health issues. It's just chemicals going off in your brain, and they're not going the way that they are supposed to all the time. And it's so useful to think about it that way, because it takes the responsibility off the people who are struggling with these issues. It's been getting better in more recent years, but there is still this mentality of, well, depression is just, you're sad, so just don't be sad. Do something happy and that'll make you feel better, or that's not always the way it works. And it also lifts some of the weight off the shoulders of the people who are trying to support someone that they know who has depression or another mental health issue, where they might think, oh, if I just do this thing to help cheer them up, or if I do this thing to help them out, then that'll solve this. Which again, it's like, you can yell at the rain to stop raining all you want, but that isn't going to make it stop. But in the same way that the weather doesn't stay the same forever, your mental state doesn't stay the same all the time. Sometimes you just need to give things time to change. Far too often, I feel like I need to solve all of my problems for myself. I need to have this self-sufficiency because I don't always know that I'm going to have people around me that can help me out. Something that my brother and I actually have in common. I sort of call it Doherty exceptionalism. This idea that, oh, well, I should be able to figure this out on my own. I know I don't necessarily need to, but I should be able to do this on my own. But if there's one thing I learned from my college experience, it's that people aren't meant to be alone all the time. It's good to be able to exist in solitude and enjoy being by yourself, but we're also designed for interaction and relationships with other people. And especially in times of struggle, it's so important to have those support groups and those people in your life that you know will be there for you. And it doesn't even have to be someone who is giving you all the best advice all the time, or someone who's going to tell you the best way to tackle a situation. Sometimes it can just be someone who can listen and be around and who can validate your feelings when you're feeling like I was with my job. I was like, am I overreacting to this? Is this not so bad a situation as I think it is? And it was very helpful to be able to talk to other people and be like, the way that you're feeling right now, it's understandable. There's actually a Yes lyric that Chris Hardwick likes to quote, and it's a good one. It's from the song Seen All Good People from the Your Move section. Don't surround yourself with yourself. And it's important to remember because so many times I've been in a place where I've just been alone for a very long time and in my own head, and even just going and having a meal with friends or something, it can help remind me who I am outside of myself, who I am in reference to the people around me. Because when you're by yourself, you can so very easily just get wrapped up into a circle of thoughts that aren't always helpful. And so connected to that, it made it very meaningful for me to be able to have a bunch of close friends of mine sing on the last chorus of this song, and also to have one of my best friends from college play a guitar solo on the song. I'm very concerned about, in my music, having a balance. I never want to, whenever I try to write just like a happy song or something that's more upbeat or lighthearted, it often feels fake to me if it doesn't have some sort of edge to it or some sort of acknowledgement of the darker side of life. But in the same regard, when I start writing really dark stuff, I never want it to be bleak. I never want it to be hopeless. And I think this song in particular strikes a really good balance with that, in that, yes, there are times when life gets tough and it sucks, but there are also ways to navigate through that. And one of the most important ways you can do that is through your continued interaction and relationship with other people you care about and care about you. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting. If you are finding these Songwriter videos interesting or beneficial to your own creative pursuits, please let me know. If you have your own ways of doing things, I'm always interested to hear different people's processes when it comes to writing or songwriting or art of any kind. If you're enjoying these videos, please consider liking and subscribing. I'm working on putting a Patreon up just to sort of work as like a little tip jar that people who are interested in supporting me can contribute to. See you again on Tuesday for the next song on the album, Waiting. Thanks again for watching.